Excited about this class. Obviously, signed 20 players total, including the 2 early enrollees. Addressed some needs we felt like on the offensive defensive line at wide receiver and depth overall with, I believe, 9 starters back on offense and 12 guys that have started on defense. Lots of guys that have played coming back, but need some guys to come in and compete and push them and be ready to play immediately. And we think we have some of those in this class. So excited about it, and can't wait to get them on campus. Y'all can ask away.
Did you talk with your recruits during the season, so to speak, about the big capital improvement, what's coming with the facilities?
Definitely. That was a constant throughout the recruitment, and then on their visits, Kirby would speak about that and all the changes, and that's definitely a huge selling point for us.
You reference a lot that Spike Dykes quote, you have to convince them to come here, you have to convince them to play hard. Do you feel like this class is an epitome of that, the guys that just really want to be here and compete for Texas Tech?
I do. When you have a down year and you have guys that still believe in you and believe in your vision and what you're about, that obviously means a lot to you as a staff. And so we're excited about a bunch of these kids who committed early and hung with us through a tough year. And, that shows that they really want to be here, and that means a lot to us.
This group of receivers seems like it's pretty dynamic, but it's also got a lot of different skill sets. Does that kind of make you happy kind of build a lot of those leads?
Yeah, I think just numbers-wise, with what we had on campus, we knew we needed a big class this year at that position, and went after some bigger guys, which we don't have on our roster, some taller guys, but got some fast guys as well. So a lot of playmakers in that group, guys that are going to need to be able to come in and play right away, and we think a lot of those guys have the ability to do that.
No quarterback. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, no quarterback with the situation that happened. We just that's a position I take a lot of pride in recruiting, and wanted to make sure we got it right. So we'll wait till 2016 and try to find a big-time guy then.
Is that something you think is becoming a trend with kids wanting to get a chance to play immediately? You're not going to necessarily have a quarterback every class and that guy wait for 3 years to get a shot for a season or 2.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know, the transfer deal has become very popular in college football for quarterbacks. That's why the Ohio State situation was so refreshing to see that kid come in and do what he did. But I don't know. You'd like to take one every class, but when it gets that close to signing day and you haven't built a relationship anywhere else, you don't want to screw that deal up. So we just decided to ante up for 16 and excited about recruiting a great one in that class.
Is this class finished yet?
We'll see. I hope not. So we'll see. There's one more out there that we'll see how that goes.
Anything that you can do differently going forward to avoid what happened with the quarterback and that really good receiver?
No.
Make it not happen again?
No, that's part of this whole process. You look at every team out there. I mean, everybody goes through that, and it is what it is. You got to worry about the ones you get and don't worry about the ones you don't get.
How much does the down season impact recruiting?
I've heard a long time ago that by February a lot of those kids forget about your record anyways, but obviously it doesn't help to go 4-8, and we need to show much improvement this year to take that next step. But like I mentioned earlier, a lot of these kids were committed before the season started, and for them to stick with us through a rough year meant a lot to us as a staff.
And along those lines, you talked about you had a couple decommits in December and January. How nice was it to get a couple that you maybe didn't expect this morning?
Yeah, that you just keep recruiting till the end. You keep trying to find guys that will improve your roster, and our coaches did a good job of that and had a couple big-time players late that got on board.
Talk about Coach Jones and add him to your staff and what he kind of does for you guys.
Yeah, he's big in the player personnel side of things, mentorship role. He'll help on the offensive side as well. But his main deal is more of a mentorship role. I think when you look at what he did at South Oak Cliff from where they were at to going deep into the playoffs, incredible mentor, very well respected in that area, and we were lucky to have him be a part of this staff.
Did you think he could bring those two if he came here and got a job here?
No, I didn't know where that would go, honestly. I think it shows the level of respect they have for him and that they wanted to be around him.
Coach, did you have the idea of filling out the class closer to 25? Does 19 or 20 seem a little light to you?
No, it doesn't. I think we made the mistake the past 2 years of reaching on some guys late, and that really has hurt us. And so obviously we would have liked a couple more, but it didn't fall that way. But we weren't going to reach and get some guys that can't play at this level. And so that leaves you some leeway to put some guys on moving forward. and there's always transfers that are looking for a place, so it gives you some flexibility moving forward.
Hey, Coach, on paper, this offensive line class is deep and a lot of quality. Won a couple pretty big recruiting battles with some of the guys. What's, from your perspective, what does this group bring?
Hopefully the ability to play right away. I think, once again, we'll be going through spring with a light roster when it comes to offensive linemen, and these kids have to come in and be able to be backups at best, and hopefully starters. So we'll see where it goes. But it's a good group. A couple of those guys committed early and hung with us and have the ability to play right away.
With the one addition today, how do you feel about the linebacker?
Excited. It was a young group. I think you add Mike Mitchell to the mix this spring, Dakota Allen, guys that redshirted. That probably could have helped us last year, but those two, and then Devontae Hitton is a guy who was a little undersized, or else probably would have went anywhere in the country as far as offer wise, and is a tackling machine, and really look forward to working with him.
With Coach Gibbs coming into the mix a little later in the process, how do you think he clicked with some of the recruits in his final month?
He did a great job. He's a guy who has so much credibility based upon his resume, where he's been, who he's coached. That resonates with those recruits. And so I felt like in the short amount of time he had to build relationships, he did a phenomenal job and got a lot of the guys we were after.
This might be a reach for you, but who do you think your best recruit is?
I can't. I think they're all great. Yeah.
Who do you see as a couple of guys that you specifically know that you could think of plugging in right away and making an immediate impact this next season?
Yeah, the one that jumps out is Braden. Being here in the spring really gives him a leg up. But all those guys, we recruited them all to play. And they're all filling needs that we need right away. And so hopefully they can all come in and contribute in some way. But we'd love to not redshirt any of them if possible.
Coach, for you personally, what's more stressful, the night before a huge game or last night?
Yeah, I don't stress too much either way. I think this deal is you put in all the work. I mean, this is the culmination of 3 years' work when you start recruiting these kids as sophomores or even freshmen. So it's more of a celebration. You're excited about who you get, and once again, you can't worry about the guys you don't.
Who was the most surprising recruit that you got today?
I don't know if there really were any surprises. I think we had a pretty good feel going into it who we were going to get.
So you felt good about the South Oak Cliff guys?
We did. We felt like we had a good grasp on what was going to go on there.
For the fans who aren't in the inside, in the know, what would you tell them, generally speaking, about this whole process?
It's just ever changing. There's no telling what can change a 17 to 18-year-old's mind on where they want to go to school. And so you do the best you can building relationships, and you meet some incredible kids, incredible parents. And at the end of the day, sometimes they make choices that may not be the way you want, but it's not like you hold it against them. It's part of the process, and they're just doing what they feel is best for them.
Coach Hayes is obviously pretty biased, but he was saying, games are obviously won and lost in the trenches. Did you, quote unquote, win some games possibly today? Some big signees on the offensive line?
We hope so. We have an experienced group, 4 starters coming back on our offensive line, but these guys need to come in and push them and be able to back up right away. But we like the group. It's a tough group. It's a group who all wanted to be at Texas Tech, very proud of this university already, and that means a lot to us.
Did you say 9 on offense coming back and 12?
12 that had started at some point defensively last year, yes, ma'am.
How much did Coach Gibbs' late hire kind of impact, getting the defensive crews and the uncertainty around who would be defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I think it was good. Like I said, his resume speaks for itself, and when you talk to those kids about having coached Champ Bailey and being an NFL coach for 9 years and what he did at University of Houston, leading the country in takeaways, that resonates with them, and they're excited to have the opportunity to work with them.
But you don't think the time it took to hire him and at least get a defensive coordinator hire impacted defensive?
No, not at all.
Kind of going off of that, how important was it to keep Coach Smith and have him still there, some familiarity, moving back into his linebacker?
Yeah, very, very important. He's a guy who loves Texas Tech, wants to raise his family here, and wants to be here. And he's a proud Red Raider, and he'll do a tremendous job with the defensive line. I think he's going to infuse some real energy into that group and get them playing at a very high level.
Is there a position group where you feel like maybe you didn't get the numbers you wanted with this class? And that you probably focus with the 16 group?
I think defensive line-wise, we have some real quality coming in, but I think with the number of seniors in that group next year, we'll have to have another big group come in.
What have you already seen from Braden? Obviously, he's been described as a warrior, especially in the weight room. He's put up some crazy numbers for a freshman.
Yeah, I'd say work ethic and maturity, the way he handles himself around the building when he interacts with coaches, other players, professors, very mature young man, and just his work ethic. He lives in the weight room, wants to be great, and sometimes those are things that you can't teach. So we're excited about that, and it'll be a great leadership role for us moving forward with that freshman class.
What went into the decision to move Chevrolet to outside receivers in addition to the special teams work?
Yeah, he just has a great grasp of the offense after sitting through the meetings and has the same credibility of the NFL, having played that position and really maximizing his potential as a player. We felt he could help us in that regard. And Coach Morris will still oversee the receivers, but that'll be Coach Shev's room, and I think it'll help in recruiting as well.
So you'll be outside?
Yes.
You got a lot more receivers than running backs. Is that going to show us that you're going to go back to more passing, or are you still wanting to do the run?
We want to run it. With DeAndre coming back, had such a tremendous year. Justin Stockton, DeMarcus Felton, Q White's a guy who continues to impress me. And bringing in Corey, one of the fastest kids in the country, we felt like we just needed one running back in this class with all the youth we have at that position.
So you're still aiming to run more?
Yes, ma'am. Would love to keep handing it off.
What lessons maybe have you learned this recruiting cycle that you can kind of take forward and keep building on what you've learned?
Yeah, I think just relationships count for more than anything else. I think if you start building that at an early age, regardless how the record goes, if they believe in you, believe what you're about, you can sustain those and still sign kids.
You got some more depth, do you think, at defensive backs? I see that you got some cornerbacks and some safeties. You were sort of short on those last season. You brought some people over from offense. You feel like some of these people might be able to step in the starting role right away?
We do. I think Jamil Johnson's a kid physically, he'll be able to do it. Very tough player, has a nose for the football, was great at South Oak Cliff, and I think he'll be able to come in and compete right away for a starting position.
With the O-line that you have returning, do you see yourself redshirting most of these guys that you're bringing in this class on the offensive line?
I doubt it. I think we're going to need it too deep, and those guys need to step up and be ready for that role. So I would think we'll try not to redshirt any of them. We'd like to play them and actually have a situation this year where we can get some of those guys some time, where last year we really weren't good enough to get many of those guys much time, so we ended up redshirting guys.